Hello, food explorers. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, today is going to be our last podcast of 2025. And we've had a good run. So, yes, we did have a little bit of time where we didn't have any podcasts. But as I said in my last podcast, we are back at it and we're committed to every couple of weeks, we're going to get a podcast episode out for you. So, because the holiday season is fast approaching, have you finished your Christmas shopping? So, today's podcast is going to come out December 17th, and I'm just going to admit right here, I am not done my Christmas shopping, and for very good reason, which I'll explain in a second. But are you the type of person that gets their Christmas shopping done really early? You've got your meals planned, you've got, all the trimmings and the stockings hung with care. I am not that person. I don't know that I have ever been that person though, so I'm gonna just grant myself some grace on that. The biggest reason, of course, why I have not finished any Christmas shopping, I have started. I have started, but I have not finished, and that is because market season. And market season is finally done. Events are done. Everything is done for the season. So we did half as many markets this year, but I feel like I was twice as busy. And I'm not really sure why. So holiday markets, of course, for a small business are one of the best ways to get your name out there, be, face to face with the people that are looking to shop local, and hopefully what you are offering is what they would like. And there's a couple things I want to talk about today. One of them is trends in shopping. So I obviously have a food product because I'm a chocolatier. And so when I'm at the markets, I'm selling food. This year, I also had a book because I wrote a book. And so I had the book for sale as well. And so trying to come up with things that I thought people would really enjoy. And one of those things was basically putting the chocolate and the books together in cute little packages, all wrapped up with a bow so that you could basically grab and go and you had something to gift that was perfect for your bookworm, your chocolate lover, your tea drinker. I kind of had all these cozy packages together that had a little bit of each of those things in it. And it was really interesting at the markets to see the people that immediately were thinking, yes, I can get this local product. I can check my list off for Sally and Johnny and Judy and, whoever else you wanted. And they immediately saw the value of that sort of pre-packaged. And it was one of those things where, as a shopper, when I'm looking for something for somebody else, I am looking for those little touches. So when you see a vendor that has put together something that you know is going to come across as a meaningful gift, why wouldn't you do it? We also had the shoppers that were like, no, I'm putting my own package together. So I want, this chocolate and I want this, the book, and I'm going to put it together myself. And that's also a great way to really personalize what you're doing. So my question to you is then, do you love the putting together of the gift, or are you more inclined to say, ooh, that's already put together for me? We work with a company, T2 Concierge, and they're a fantastic company. And so they do things like grocery shopping for you, or say you need the cable company to come and you're like, I can't sit at my house for, between 12 and 5 p.m. waiting for them. That's something they would do. Do you need to downsize your house? Do you need to move your house? Whatever it is, they can do that. But one of the things that they've also done to really set themselves apart is local gift baskets. So, I think there was a push in 2020, shop local, support local, keep these local businesses going, because the big companies, as soon as the pandemic hit, the big companies were like, we're already set up for local delivery, pickup, click and collect. We're already set up for that. So the big companies, your Walmarts, your superstores, your what's another what's another place that people go shopping at? Oh, Safeway, Sobeys, like all these places. I don't grocery shop. Let's just be honest here. I don't enjoy the grocery store very much, which is funny that I do a Food Explorer podcast. I'm more of the other side of the food, the, experiencing the food, talking about the food, explaining fun little things, but the actual grocery shopping is not for me. But those big companies were already set up. So the little companies were, in that scramble in those first few days. And we heard the term pivot a million times. Nobody wants to hear that term anymore. But it kind of was this, I'm going to go and buy all these ingredients, and I'm going to go and buy all these things, and I'm going to support local by, getting local sourdough and buying my farmer's market vegetables. And then, as restrictions lifted, we found, as somebody that's a small business, small producer, that there was a real shift away from that shop local. Now, why are we back onto the shop local, support local? Our global political system has created I'm not going to swear, so what's the term that I want to use? A confounding conundrum of something. You fill in the word here. But our global political systems have shifted us again, and now we're seeing people going, I need to shop local again. I need to travel local. I need to stay local, because if I don't, they're realizing how many businesses just in the last 5 years have closed down. So as we're going into the holiday season, and I'm kind of doing this really roundabout way of saying shop local, but it's something to really think about. Like, how do I support these small businesses where the perception is it costs more? Okay, so a perfect example. I love a good mug. I love getting the handmade pottery mugs. Are they going to be more than the $9.99 at Amazon or Walmart or any of those places? Yes, of course they are. Because there's an actual person sitting there, throwing the clay, creating the mug, putting the designs, doing the painting, doing the glazing, doing all the things that they need to do. So yes, that mug is going to cost you a lot more. The temptation, of course, is, yeah, but the one at, Amazon just looks exactly the same. Maybe it does look the same, but the thought behind it, the process behind it, the creation behind it is not the same. So how do we balance out the shopping local for the holiday season and I have a lot of presents to get? Because hear me very clearly, I understand why people are wanting to go and get the items from Amazon. I understand, because here's the thing that I notice, and I've been doing markets for 8 years consistently now. And this is from little tiny markets that are in the community, hall, to the big giant markets where, the market organizers are spending weeks putting up the infrastructure, as in building giant tents to create these holiday markets. So I'm the spectrum. I go from one to the next, from the little thing that's costing you $65 for a table to the ones that are costing you thousands of dollars. And I see every year patterns. So if it's a payday weekend, we see people shopping a bit more freely. If it's the markets in November, early December, we see a lot more people that are like, I think I need 4, and they don't even know. And they're like, you know what? I'll just take 10 chocolate bars because I'll figure out who they're going to go to. So they're very non-specific. As you get closer to Christmas, though, and this is the first year that I'm not doing markets really close to Christmas. It's kind of weird. But in my 8 past years, I have found that as you get closer to Christmas, people are more discerning, and they are not just coming and grabbing, 10 of something to figure out later. They're like, I need one thing for Jane, and you don't have it. And they move on. And so there's very specific intentional shopping. The closer you get to Christmas, And if the weekend right before Christmas is not a payday weekend, you definitely see less spending. So, as somebody that's a food business at markets, there's always this kind of from other vendors where they're like, "Oh, you sell food, so you sell out every time," whereas I'm selling blank, 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 and so it's really hard for me to sell. It's not necessarily true. You still do have the highs and the lows of people's shopping whims, but you also have a product that is perishable that you need to get rid of. Whereas somebody that's selling, no hate on people selling socks, because I love socks. I mean, I'm at the age now where you give me a pair of socks and I'm super happy. But somebody that's selling socks, those socks can travel through to the following years, and there's no worries about those socks, being perishable. So as we move into the holiday season, how are you shopping? How are you supporting your local food vendors? How are you planning your holiday meals? Are you having a meal delivered from a company? There's amazing companies out there that put together Christmas dinners because for many people, they want to spend time with their family. They don't necessarily want to spend 3 days cooking for their family. There's lots of companies that will, kind of do the whole Christmas dinner and all the fixings, and you can order it and you go pick it up. Basically, they have, days set out that you can go pick it up. I've seen a few grocery stores now that are realizing, they already have that grab and go section for food. Why not offer that holiday meal? And also for people that, maybe there's just two people, maybe they're both working at Christmas. They're like double time and a half or whatever they pay you at Christmas now if you work. I don't know what they pay for Christmas. I'm self-employed. I don't get paid anytime. So, but, if you've only got two people, you don't necessarily want to go and get a giant turkey or a ham or a tofurkey or whatever it is that you're making, because you just need two portions. So there's a lot of opportunities for that. And bakeries, of course, have always realized that having the holiday platters where it's like 4, 5, 6 different choices of cookies, squares, bars, barks, whatever it is, you can get that. So I'm always curious as to what people like to do for those holiday seasons because there's so many more. I feel like there's so many more options now. And that leads me into what I kind of wanted to chat about today. And that is the advent of the modern advent calendar. Okay. So an advent calendar, way back when 1900s was kind of the marking of the days until we celebrate Christmas. So your calendar might have little devotional sayings in it. It might have a little tiny treat in it. But nowadays, friends, these calendars are wild. And I'm not going to lie. In my fridge upstairs, I have 2 cheese advent calendars. I'm serious. I have 2. Because we went to the grocery store and it was after December 1st. And so there was a cheese advent calendar that was on sale for $4 off. So we're like, why not? And we were enjoying it so much. When we went to the grocery store the following week, there was a different company cheese advent calendar, and we're like, ooh, that looks really good too. So now we have 2 cheese advent calendars going. So they're little chunks of cheese every day, and it is delightful. I also, my mom got me a coffee advent calendar, so it's a different coffee every day. And some days I'm like, oh, I'm going to save that coffee for later, or yeah, I'm going to have that coffee today. So I don't necessarily always have the coffee of the day. Sometimes I'm like, ooh, I have a special occasion I'm going to save that for. But those are both consumable ones. I have a friend that has a tea one, and I obviously, maybe not obviously, if you're brand new here, I'm a master chocolatier in my other life. And I would always, for the past, oh my goodness, let's start counting now. 7, 8 years I've done advent calendars, and they have gone through quite the evolution from the first one to the one that I have now. And I've added more chocolate over the years to the advent calendar, and now we have the calendar that we have now. But I did not make calendars this year. With Jason's second stroke, with all of the hospital stuff we had to deal with, uh, ordering all the advent calendar stuff. So if you are somebody that just consumes advent calendars, the actual planning, organizing, ordering, all of that has to happen back in, typically May. And Jason's stroke was 2 weeks after, so in June. So when I would have been, figuring out the 25 flavors, getting all the ingredients ordered, I don't make the chocolates in June and July. There's lots of places that do, and good for you. I make mine fresh in December or in November. Ordering the boxes, doing the designs, getting the designers back and forth, doing the proofs. I just had no bandwidth for it. I had asked I think in April, what the box prices were going to be, and already at that point, the box prices had tripled from last year. So I was already kind of like, oh boy, I don't know if I can do this. It's also extremely painful and stressful because it's 5,000 handmade chocolates. I make them by hand. I don't have machines. I make them by hand. So it was that, on top of the box prices going up, on top of Jason's stroke, on top of me just not being able to focus on anything other than him, that I made the decision to not do advent calendars. I let my customers know. I'm sure I disappointed many customers, but it was the decision that needed to be made. And I did let all of my customers know, like, if I was buying a chocolate advent calendar, here's where I would go. And I said I would buy from Filigree Chocolatier in Saskatchewan, or I'd buy from Chocolate Escapade here in Edmonton, or I would buy from the Chocolate Lab in Calgary. Like, if you wanted to get a calendar, those are the 3 places that I would go to get a calendar. And so a lot of people went with those choices, or they found other ones that they were like, oh, this actually looks pretty good. So, and I love that. I'm not the gatekeeper of advent calendars. If I'm not making them, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy one from somebody. Like, let's be real here. But with the advent calendars, so there's now this evolution where the advent calendar is not the consumable advent calendar anymore. So your chocolate advent calendar or like the beer advent calendar. Now it is pretty much anything that is in your life you can get as an advent calendar. Do you want a cookbook advent calendar? You can buy one. Do you want a Lego advent calendar? Well, buckle up, buckaroo, because you can get one. I saw the other day, and this one, I think, again, no shade, but this was probably the most ridiculous one. A scrunchie advent calendar. I don't know that I need that many scrunchies. Maybe I do. I do have a lot of hair, but I just thought, wow. So I started thinking about advent calendars and how much they have changed. You pretty much can get anything as an advent calendar. Chocolate advent calendars in some ways have evolved where you get more of this real unique calendar that's not just your, when I was a kid, sometimes we got the calendar, it was literally like one little chocolate square per day, and it was 25 days or 24 days. Most of the time it was 24 days, and a lot of times it was the same chocolate over and over again. There's a chocolate company in California, Dandelion Chocolate, and they already have their 2026. Okay, I'm recording this in 2025. They already have their 2026 calendar on sale right now for pre-order. It is $200 American, which is like $5,000 Canadian, because our dollar sucks. And then shipping on top. It's insane to me that they've already got their 2026 calendar on sale. But at that price point, they sell out. So you always, you hear from people, well, I can't raise my prices because the market won't bear a bigger price. But there's those outliers that are like, nah, I'm charging top dollar. People will pay. And as evidenced by them putting their 2026 calendar on sale already, people will pay. So when I think about the advent calendar now, I don't know if I'm feeling like it's gone to the point of ridiculous or if it's like there's a market for it. I did an impromptu survey last night. I did my last virtual chocolate tasting event last night. And so we had people from all over Alberta and we had people from Saskatchewan on the call. So I just did an impromptu. I'm like, do y'all like just your classic chocolate advent calendar, which started in like the 1950s, which is kind of interesting. It was like that was the first time we sort of had like the starts of like the chocolate in the calendar as a more starring role. And then in the 70s is when the chocolate advent calendar really took off. But I asked them, are you classic chocolate advent calendar or are you specialty? And pretty much everybody that answered was specialty. They all like the specialty advent calendar. And there was one young gentleman on the call. He was maybe 10 and he was so excited because he had his Harry Potter one, and then one of the adults was like, well, shoot, I want that too. So it's one of those things when I'm looking at the food industry and where the food industry is going for 2026, we're going to have a lot of changes again. Are we looking at things like these advent calendars where I can get beer, wine, chocolate, spirits, any kind of cheese, any kind of consumable? I heard there's one that's a charcuterie one. Are we moving into the direction where people are going to be splurging on these items because it is a splurge and it's something you enjoy for the whole month? Or are we going to be moving into where people want the really super specialty ones and that's kind of their big thing for the year? The other thing you have to think about too is like the amount of packaging that's involved. Like for our advent calendars, everything was recyclable, biodegradable. So we had the cardboard box that was recyclable. The grid that was inside that held the chocolates in place was a biodegradable cornstarch. So they were just 3D printed cornstarch. And then we have the chocolates, which are consumable. So at the end of your advent calendar, there's nothing left. It's all, gone to recycle, biodegradable, or belly. With some of these calendars, where it's like you have the calendar and then you have everything individually wrapped inside in like a cello or something like that. It's a lot of paper plastic product at the end of the day. So it's interesting to me. I kind of think about the advent calendar and I think about, and maybe you can answer this for me, is there still joy in it? Or is it, oh man, I got to open up another day. I'm tired. And let's just be real too. A lot of my regular customers, I giggle because in all of the years that I have done an advent calendar, I would say 25 to 30% of the people that would buy my calendar that would eat the whole thing within a couple of days. They're like, I'm not waiting 25 days. I'm eating them all right now. Some of them would eat them and they would have them done before December 1st. So good on you. I am proud of you. It's fantastic. But I don't know where we're going with this advent calendar thing. It is interesting. It's that everyone wants to have the chance to create their own experience for the month. So you tell me what you think. Are you chocolate only? Are you specialty item? Are you mixed? Do you have a whole bunch? Like I said, we have 3 advent calendars in my house right now. But we're enjoying them. We're enjoying them so much. Like it's fun to discover new cheeses every day. And then at the end of this month of eating these cheeses, I'm going to have some new cheese that I want to go and buy. The last thing that I want to leave you with, so we talked a little bit about the holidays. How are you holiday shopping? Where are you getting your holiday meals from? Are you, shopping local? Are you like, no, I'm going to Walmart. I don't care. And then the advent calendars. And the last thing that I want to leave you with is next year, I am working really hard on a big, cool project. So for those of you that are new here, hi, I'm Colleen. I'm a serial entrepreneur. So I have my chocolate business. I'm master chocolatier. I'm owner of Colleen's Chocolates. That business is now going to be celebrating 10 years next year. Like how crazy is that? 10 years. I have my book Maven, Colleen Heidecker business, which is my author business. So the book Maven is like the merch and the reading retreats and the writing retreats. And then the Colleen Heidecker is like the actual books that I'm writing. And then I have this Food Explorer podcast as well. And so this is all the Food Explorer, the Substack, and the podcast. So one thing that's going to change with Food Explorer for next year is I'm really just going to focus on the podcast on all your podcast platforms and YouTube and the Substack. So I have to narrow down what I'm doing because I was trying to do, post on X, post on Facebook, post on Instagram. Do I need a TikTok? No, none of those things matter at this point. Focusing on these two platforms are ways to get the Food Explorer out to you. And with that, I'm also looking at how to streamline those three businesses together. So I have an immersive experience that I'm going to be starting next year that is going to bring in the Food Explorer and the books and the chocolates and all of it together. I'm very excited about that. And it's kind of just this really cool way to take the things that I'm very passionate about and put them together in a meaningful way. So it is an experience that I'm creating, and start kind of wiggling around in your noodle because I think for the first experience, it's going to need to be an in-person experience. So you're going to be Edmonton and area to participate because I'm looking to create such a fun, immersive experience. But in my brain, I can't quite figure out yet how it would work if it's not in person. So I think once we do a few of them, then I'll be able to figure out how to maybe do something virtual. So we'll see. But it will have to be tweaked because the in-person ones, we're going to be enjoying food in a very different way. So it is a sensory experience. It is an immersive experience. And it's going to bring together the Food Explorer, books, chocolate. And now you're probably like, where do I sign up? Okay, it's all coming next year. So these next 2 weeks are kind of my favorite time of the year. And let me know if you have any habits at this time of year. But at this time of year, when I have no idea what day it is anymore, I literally thought yesterday was Friday. It was Tuesday yesterday. I had to think about that. It's Tuesday yesterday. I love planning for next year. I love just spending time just writing notes, and I write everything out. Everything that is giant that you think there's no way you could do that, I write it out. And I find a way to accomplish it. So, even with this podcast, it was one of those things where I was, spending so much time trying to figure out how to do the podcast. And it's like, just do the podcast. So with that, I will leave you for the year 2025. We'll have some more cool stuff coming in the new year. I got another Substack coming out before the end of this year. We got new subscribers on Substack. I love that. Thank you. I know we were gone for a really long time, but thank you for, giving us the opportunity to, get into your ears, get onto your screen, and get onto your reading pleasure as well. Have a wonderful holiday season, however you want to celebrate. Maybe you've got 10 advent calendars at home and you're enjoying every single one of those. Let me know, because I always am so interested to hear about people's experiences. And with that, Happy New Year as well. Thank you from myself, the Food Explorer podcast. Have a great day, everybody.